Hello everyone, I'm Carius, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Paragon, which is a 3D printed Vortex blaster designed by Buff Daddy Nerf almost 5 years ago, that I built at least 3 years ago and just never made a video on, so I figured I'd fix that. The Paragon's a pretty cool blaster. It's basically a Vortex Stryfe. It's a semi-automatic mag-fed flywheeler. It's got a single flywheel with the motor in this place. On the other side there's an idle wheel. It's a little nylon spacer. And the firing mech is a solenoid, specifically a Flywheel the World hyperdrive solenoid. Now, this particular Paragon is a piece of crap. You can see I didn't really care about the colors it was printed in. It was just all getting rid of some extra silver I had. And the solenoid I used is this Chinese solenoid I ordered off of Amazon that is not strong enough to reliably push discs. And it was differently sized than the hyperdrive solenoid, so I had to carve out a bunch of pieces to get it to fit right. And I used kind of a crappy motor that doesn't work as well. And when you're using a hotter motor, you don't want PLA as your cage. So this is kind of warping and trying to encroach on the flywheel, and it's rubbing. You can definitely hear it when I rev it. I don't even have a battery in this thing because I don't plan on showing it off. So this was my first attempt. And the blaster went together really nice. It's really nicely designed. I just used inferior parts. So let's get rid of this one. Switch over to my nice one. So here is Paragon, built as designed with a hyperdrive solenoid. It has a Merlin motor and a serrated worker flywheel. I found that the serrated wheel gives it an extra like 10 FPS. It does tear little bits of foam off the sides of the Vortex discs as they're coming out. I haven't had any get torn up enough that they're no longer usable, but that is something to consider. And you can see this, the flywheel cage area is neon yellow because that's the only color of PETG I had at the time. And I just haven't reprinted it because it was originally, I think it was white or silver. It's one of those, and it actually melted because a Merlin on 3S is more than hot enough to warp PLA. So I replaced it with PETG, and it's been fine ever since I did that. And you can see I kind of themed it after the Modulus color scheme just because I wanted to use this stock. I think it looks good on the blaster, and it's the right length to be very comfortable and just feel nice. And it's got a few pieces that are glow in the dark because I had some extra filament that I was getting rid of. And I forget what color it glows. UV bulb? Looks like it might be greenish, bluish. Oh yeah, it's like bluish green. So this one works really nicely. The only real issue I have with it is that it's extremely loud. And I think that has something to do with the serrated flywheel. Something about that, plus the geometry of this cage and just the big hollow areas. This one single motor blaster is louder than some dual stage blasters that I've used. Yeah. It sounds like a real angry siren coming at you with just one motor. But aside from that, it works really well. It's very snappy with the good solenoid, and it will reliably shoot using drums or stick mags or whatever. And the catch, I believe, is good enough to hold a drum. Yeah, it holds a drum pretty well. I know with some Vortex blasters, it's like really weak and the drum will come out on its own from its own weight, but it's actually pretty secure here. I tend not to use drums because of aftermarket Vortex ammo. Here we have some actual Nerf discs. And you can see they're pretty smooth and pretty flat. Aftermarket Vortex ammo, and this is an especially egregious quality. You can see this extra glue and crap all over it. But for one, it's got this like almost sharp edge on the bottom where they couldn't be bothered to make the mold have the seam in the center here. The seam is at the bottom here, and you end up with this weird mess. But also, a lot of them are not properly aligned with the foam, and you got kind of a ridge. And that just adds a whole lot of extra friction where the discs are kind of trying to fit together on top of each other instead of sliding off each other. And when you have the extra spring force of the drum, the solenoid, even the hyperdrive solenoid, will sometimes struggle to push discs out of this drum. Whereas even with the crappiest off-brand Vortex discs, I never have any trouble with the 20 round magazines. So I've been trying to acquire a ton of these and use them. For 2 of these, you got the same amount of capacity as one of these drums, and it's a way lighter and easier to mess with. So I have a ton of these drums, unfortunately, but they're just a pain in the ass to carry and not as reliable. So I find I'm better off with just a bunch of stick mags. But yeah, that's the Paragon. This is a really cool blaster. Buff Daddy did a good job designing it. I wonder if he ever did any more work on it. I know this is an old design from early 2021, and it's been a while since I even made it. But I've had a lot of fun using this. I've taken this to competitive events and gotten tags with Vortex discs at IDL in super competitive 5v5 games. I just love bringing silly stuff to the super serious games and just being a goober and seeing how well I can do with something like this. Ergonomically, it's pretty good. It's a little front heavy. It has a lot of sharp edges that you probably want to sand down if you're using it a lot. It's like not a big deal while you're holding it, but if you like slip at all, you get a lot of sharp corners, and they're just kind of unpleasant. Because this is a handle that wasn't designed specifically for the blaster. It's a Flagonial's Rectify handle. So you can kind of tell that we have the blaster with all these shapes that go into each other, and then a square cutout with the handle bolted on. And I know in the post on Thingiverse for this blaster, Buff Daddy was like, I'm going to design my own handle eventually. And I don't think that ever actually happened. I think he abandoned this project, but still a cool blaster. I think the handle suits it. It's just, I wish it was blended more into the blaster better so that we didn't have all this sharp corners and angles around where you're holding it. And that can be solved with some sandpaper, but that's assuming your 3D prints have enough walls to not just eat through the part. But yeah, that's the Paragon. Let's go shoot stuff. Just to give us a baseline, I'm going to start with a few discs from the fuse fire from last video. See what kind of FPS that gets. 52. Duplicate 52. Good enough. And that is, I'd say, average to maybe the high end of what Vortex does. Like, your range will still be a lot higher than a dart getting 52 FPS because they just float. Now we have the Paragon. A few discs in it. That was pretty consistent. Got 57 3 times in a row. And 55 and 56. So yeah, a little higher than stock Vortex. Not the highest I've seen Vortex go, for sure. A 4S Nitron will shoot them higher, but high 50s is still pretty good. It's good enough to just spam floating clouds of discs at people and get them from surprisingly long range. Not really going to be sniping people, but you will catch people off guard. Now I'm going to try the off-brand Vortex discs. You can see real good just how messy and half-assed these are, but they do still work. So yeah, those are getting just a little bit higher FPS. I think maybe it's because they're slightly more rigid. Their flywheel is hitting them harder. A couple of those are doing 60. And I'd rather use them because they're cheaper and easier to come by now. You can still order them on Amazon, whereas it's kind of difficult to get legitimate Vortex discs that aren't super expensive. Alright, against my better judgment, I have loaded up one of the 40 round drums with off-brand discs. Let's see if I can get through them and see how much damage I do to the table. I actually cleared the table with one drum and only jammed a couple times. Like, I could feel the solenoid get caught and not quite go, but then I just tried again and it worked. Surprisingly smooth considering how much this gets stuck on the crappy discs. And just to show off the rate of fire, when you have something that won't jam on you, works pretty well. This is a bonus blaster. I have a Nitron with a Buzzbead Wizard underbarrel. But wait, it turns into a Hailfire? So yeah, this is a Nitron where I've rigged a Hailfire pusher up to the pusher and just using the Nitron flywheel as the main powerhouse. And it's a pretty weird blaster. maybe worth its own video, but I just wanted to show off the, because a 4S Nitron will shoot harder than the Paragon because it's got a big old flywheel. So reliably 64 to 67. So it's another 10 FPS. You don't get quite the rate of fire or smoothness of the solenoid. I made a boom nitron, which is a nitron that has a rapid strike pusher in it. And I mean, when it works, it's really cool. It's just like a Vortex flamethrower, but the rapid strike pusher is very delicate. When it was working, it only shot genuine Nerf Vortex discs out of stick magazines. It couldn't handle drum mags at all. It would jam up, and firing off-brand discs, it would jam up. And I think I finally killed it even trying to do anything other than perfect discs in a stick magazine. So that's unfortunate. I'd really like to make a Vortex blaster that has insane rate of fire, but is based on a Nitron flywheel because it's just got more power. And I like the look of it anyway. And then here's this jank integration I made, but it's a cool blaster. And it's got that super smooth hail fire trigger. So it's just kind of a fun blaster to shoot. But you definitely want more rate of fire. And you would want like custom magazines that hold more than 20 too. So there's a lot of design challenges to make like an actual Vortex minigun type thing, or something that will really just spew out a cloud of slow moving projectiles. And it'd be really cool. I mean, Rival kind of does that, but Vortex is weird and I want to do weird stuff. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this look at a 5-year-old 3D printed blaster that didn't seem to take off, but I think is really cool. And bonus monstrosity. I would really like to see Vortex make a comeback, but Hasbro's not going to do it. It's all up to designers like Buff Daddy, or anybody else who still is holding on to a ton of these. But anyway, I'll see you in the next video. And until then, this has been Carious, reminding you to have fun. Be so comfy.